All right, and we live again. For this video, we're going over the topic C quiz. This is a review right quick. It's only 6 questions, but I will be as thorough as I possibly can. Hopefully I don't lose you. I already gave this explanation. This is just a reiteration of it in case you want to double back and reference. For number 1, it gives you to evaluate 9.54 times 10 to the 6 divided by 6 times 10 to the negative 3. What you want to do is set up your A values first. Make sure you write your scientific notation formula out just to make sure you're following it. Split it up a little bit. First of all, let me make my line thinner. Split it up a little bit and separate your A values from your bases of 10 and then divide. 9.54 divided by 6 will give you 1.59. If you divide 10 to the 6 divided by 10 to the negative 3, when you're dividing with like bases, all you have to do is subtract those bases from each other. Those exponents from each other. So 6 minus negative 3, this is a double negative. That'll make this a positive. That'll be same as saying 6 plus 3, which equals 9. Make sure you rewrite your answer and carry it out fully. It does say to put our answer in scientific notation, so that'll give us the answer of 1.59 times 10 to the 9th power. For number 2, we're multiplying. It says to find the product of 0.000078 times 3.3 times 10 to the 2. The first thing you want to do is write this decimal in scientific notation. I'm going to give it to you right here. It is 7.8 times 10 to the negative 5. And then I'm just going to rewrite that 3.3 times 10 squared. Now there's 2 ways to solve this. I can easily break this up the same way that I did for number 1 and then multiply 7.8 and 3.3 together, which will give me 25.74. And then multiply our bases of 10 together, which essentially I'll just be adding the exponents together. That'll give me negative 5 plus 2, which is negative 3. So I give me the answer of 25.74 times 10 to the negative 3, but I'll have to move our decimal place over to the left one time so that we'll get 2.574 times 10 to the negative 2, because our A values have to be somewhere between 1 and 9.99. Another way you can do that, though, this is why I didn't write this down for you to be able to see. A simpler way of doing that is just plugging it into your calculator. I will say, though, to be extra careful when you're plugging it into your calculator, because you would likely have to put a double parentheses around your numbers, meaning you'll have to open the parentheses first, type in your A value, type in times 10, and then when you go to put the exponent into the equation, you'll have to put another parentheses around that and make sure you close the parentheses 2 times. Otherwise, you would jack up your answer. And yes, you do have to do that for both numbers. Make sure you have a double parentheses and close it twice. But you will get the same answer. And the answer here is 2.574 times 10 to the negative 2. If this question asks us to round this answer, we could just round to the 10th place, and that'll give us 2.6 times 10 to the negative 2. But in this case, because it did not ask us to round, leave your number whole. For number 3, it says that a calculator displays 6 numbers as shown in the table. If you notice, all of these numbers have an E attached to it. If you can recall when we went over this in another lesson, when you see E on a calculator, or even written down in scientific notation on a piece of paper, think of that E as saying that something is being multiplied by 10 to some power. Now, based on the choices given, we are ordering these from least to greatest. Okay, we're going from least to greatest with these 6 values. The easiest way to determine what's lesser than or what's greater than is to first go by the exponents. The exponents is the number 1 giveaway. The negative exponents, I'm going to go over those first. The numbers with the negative exponents, that is A, C, and E. The one with the greatest exponent, the greatest negative exponent, is the smallest number. In this case, it's E, because it has the exponent of negative 13. All that means is it is further down the number line, so it sits further to the left on a number line. That leaves us with A and C. Now, A and C have the same exponent of negative 12, so now we have to go based on the A values. Now, on a number line, if you were looking at it, 7 will sit closer to the origin compared to 9.67, meaning 9.67 times 10 to the power of negative 12 is a smaller number compared to 7 times 10 to the negative 12. So A would go next, and then C. That leaves us with B, D, and F. Once again, now you can go in chronological order and order these last answer choices in order numerically based on the exponents. B has an exponent of 12, so that would go next. D has an exponent of 13, that will be next, and that leaves F. The greater the positive exponents, the larger the number. Plain and simple. Just don't get tripped up. For number 4, it says a newborn opossum weighs about 0.00028 pounds. What is the weight of the opossum rounded to the nearest 10,000th pound? On your test, when you get it, you will be given some decimal number. Just make sure that you are rounding to the proper place value and that you don't accidentally round to the wrong number or the wrong decimal place. In this case, in the 10,000th place, that's where that 2 sits at. So we're going to round up a little bit because the next number is an 8, which is greater than 5. So we're going to round up to 0.0003. Oops. It also does ask us to put the answer in scientific notation. Do not forget to write your answer in scientific notation. Follow all of the directions. If you don't, then you've partially answered the question and it's still incorrect. It's because it's not in the proper form, even though it's the right answer. Make sure you put it in scientific notation. Already did the hops for us. That'll give us 3 times 10 to the negative 4. Make sure when you are converting into scientific notation from really small decimal numbers that your exponents are negative. For number 5, here we are given a bunch of comparisons, and you just need to figure how many times larger is one value compared to the other. I'm going to give you the answers outright first. Our answers here is A and C. Yes, you do have 2 answers for number 5. Here's the easiest way to solve this. Plug in your values that comes first, and then divide those values by the second value that is being compared to. Okay? That's these. So for example, in A, it wants to know if the diameter of spider silk is about 8 times as large as the diameter of pet dander. So if I go to spider silk and I put that in my calculator first, make sure you put in a double parentheses and then divide it by the diameter of pet dander, you should get the answer result of 8. So that divided, that 4 times 10 to the negative 3 divided by 5 times 10 to the negative 4 should result in 8, which it did when I put it in my calculator. Now if you want to work forwards instead of backwards, you can always take pet dander and multiply by 8 and you should get the spider silk value, but that'll likely give you a decimal instead of just giving you the answer. So the way that I did it at first is kind of a little more simple. It'll just outright give you a whole number, or at least it should. Obviously, if you put the comparisons into the calculator and you don't get one of these answers, then all that means is it's just not the right answer choice. Don't worry about it. I did do the same thing for C. I did get 250. But that is how you solve that. I prefer that you divide because it's almost impossible to mess that up unless you put it in the calculator wrong. For number 6, We are subtracting in scientific notation. I did discuss this before on how to subtract in scientific notation when you do not have the same exponents. When you do have the same exponents, you can just subtract normally. Just make sure that your answer, your resulting answer, is sitting in proper scientific notation form. If not, make any necessary adjustments. But if you start off with different exponents, here's the easiest thing to do. First of all, I'm going to take that 5.6 and I'm going to drag it back one decimal place, because that'll turn this into 0.56 times 10 to the negative 8. So now we have the same exponent. It's just that simple. And I'm going to just rewrite 8.3 times 10 to the negative 8 here. Now that we have the same exponent, we can simplify this for ourselves and just subtract 0.56 from 8.3. 0.56. I know that's a little raggedy, but just bear with me. 8.3 minus 0.56 will give you 7.74. And then all you have to do is bring in that times 10 to the negative 8. And you'll get the right answer, which in this case is C. Now, if you had a double-digit answer, like if that was 17.74, you will have to manipulate the decimal place a little bit in order to put this answer in proper scientific notation, because our A values, which are our first factors, can only sit between 1 and 9.99. But if that is not the case, you do not have to worry about it, but just make sure you're double checking your answers anyways. For topic C, this was lessons 11 through 14. Topic B, which we're doing tomorrow, that was lessons 5 through 9. Okay? If you're going to review, make sure you review lessons 5 through 9 and then lessons 11 through 14. If you are struggling with either one of these, I encourage that you revisit the recap page. Of course, you can obviously visit this video, but in case you need a little more reinforcement, the recap pages are in your books. That is a free resource. All you have to do is read. Take your time. Make sure you are studying diligently. If there's anything you're having a hard time with, make sure you hone in on that skill a little more. All right? With that being said, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Good luck on both of your quizzes.